a new beginning, we ask for your guidance in the responsibility we have undertaken and your help in fulfilling our duties. As members of this legislative assembly, may we faithfully serve all Albertans, and in serving them, serve you. Amen. Should members continue to stand, please? As is our custom, we pay tribute on our first day to former members of this assembly who have died since we last met. And as I read the honor list, if you will, of those who have passed on, I would also point out that there are some family members of some of the deceased. Some family members are present in my gallery, and we welcome them on this occasion. Glenn Forrest Johnson, who died July the 19th, 1991. He represented the constituency of Ponoka for the Social Credit Party. He was first elected in the 1952 general election, re-elected in 1955, 1959, 1963, and served until 1967. Charles William Stewart, who died October the 3rd, 1991. Charlie represented the constituency of Wainwright for the Progressive Conservative Party. He was first elected in the 1975 general election, re-elected in 1979, and served until 1982. John Harold McLaughlin died December the 8th, 1991, represented the constituency of Stony Plain, and represented also the Liberal Party. He was first elected in the 1955 general election and served until 1959. Alfred John Hook passed away February the 17th, 1992. Alf represented the constituencies of Red Deer and Rocky Mountain House for the Social Credit Party, first elected in the 1935 general election, re-elected in 1940, 1944, 1948, 1952, 1955, 1959, 1963, 1967, and served until 1971. And then yesterday, Alberta's 5th Sergeant at Arms died, James A. Reed. He served the Legislative Assembly of Alberta with distinction from 1955 until 1976. And then our colleague, Sheldon Schumer, who died January the 26th, 1992, represented the constituency of Calgary-Buffalo for the Liberal Party, first elected May the 8th, 1986, re-elected in the 1989 general election, and served until the time of his death. We remember all these persons. In a moment of silent prayer, I ask you to offer unto God your respective thoughts, and in particular to remember these persons as you have known them. Rest eternal grant unto them, O Lord, and let light perpetual shine upon them. Amen. Pray be seated.
Honorable members and members of the general public, I wonder if you might come to order, please. Thankfully, it's very rare that we must pay tribute to a member who has died in office, but I'd ask that you would observe the proper decorum. Chair recognizes the Leader of the Liberal Party.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity of saying a few things about the member from Calgary Buffalo, Sheldon Schumer. Our party has had to weather some pretty difficult storms in the last few months, with the leader of the party having to face his second bout with cancer, and to see one of our own colleagues die within 2 months of cancer. It was on the 15th of November that Sheldon came to me in Red Deer and said that he wasn't feeling well, that he thought he had a cold and that he wanted permission to leave and go home and rest. And 2 months later, with really quite a hard and difficult death, Sheldon died of cancer. I would like to first acknowledge the tributes from the members of this assembly to our caucus, to me, of Sheldon. Kindness that you have shown, kindness that you have transcribed in your notes and in your communications has been truly wonderful. And it's many other Albertans who have done the same thing, because Sheldon had a very, very big following. When I attended Sheldon's funeral in Calgary, along with a number of other MLAs, and thank you for taking time to do that, I noted that Sheldon had no immediate family. He had no brothers, no sisters, no father, no mother. He had, in fact, a very small family. But almost 2,000 people found their way to the synagogue in Calgary to pay their respects. I think almost every high court judge and provincial court judge in the Calgary region was there. I think that almost every leading lawyer from the Calgary legal fraternity was there. I watched and saw senior police officers come in to pay their respects, but I also watched ordinary constables come in their dress uniforms to pay the same kind of respect. I saw elected officials, mayors and aldermen, reeves and councillors, along with federal members of Parliament and, of course, our own MLAs. I watched as human rights activists came in to pay their respects, tax specialists, civil libertarians. I watched and saw that people from the visual and performing arts came in to pay their respects, and many, many more. When the ceremony was finished, I was waiting to catch a ride downtown, and a complete stranger came to me with his wife, and he said, "Mr. Decor, my name is so-and-so. This is my wife. Could I catch a ride with you? I suspect you're going downtown." During the course of that ride, I asked the individual what it was that brought him and Sheldon together. He told me that he wanted to know something about the Jewish religion. And he couldn't think of anybody or anywhere to go except Sheldon Schumer. So he telephoned Sheldon and said, "Where can I get some information on the Jewish religion?" In due course, books started to arrive at this gentleman's house, papers, all sorts of information on the Jewish faith. And he and his wife became very close friends of Sheldon Schumer. That's Sheldon. That's what he was all about. Everybody was his friend. I first met Sheldon on my first day at university in 1958, and his first day at university in 1958. Sheldon's course was always clear. Sheldon knew he wanted to be a lawyer, and he knew he wanted to be a good lawyer. Sheldon had a great love of sports. Played for the Golden Bears, played hockey, and involved himself in student government as the sports or students' sports representative. Got his colors at this university for the work that he did for students. Sheldon was clear, not only in the path that he wanted to get on in adult life, but he was clear in his philosophy even in those early years. He was the president of the University of Alberta Liberal Club. He was active in debating. He was active in model parliament. He was active in things that brought him into contact with other students. Members of this assembly, Sheldon was a great asset to our caucus. All of you, I know, realize that. Sheldon would always say, when we discussed an issue and boiled it down to a position that we thought we would take, is this right? Is what we are about to embark upon right? That was his creed. Last Wednesday, I came back and chaired my first meeting of our caucus since my own illness. And I had to shed a tear when I looked across the way and didn't see Sheldon. Sheldon leaves a great legacy to our province, to our country, to our party, to our caucus, to many of us. Much of Sheldon's involvement in Calgary will be talked about, I understand, by the honourable member from Forest Lawn, and I'm sure by the honourable Minister of the Environment. But I think these are the things that Sheldon does leave as his legacy to us. He had integrity. He had consistency. He had humility. He had compassion. And he had intelligent ideas to deal with all of the problems that he got himself immersed into. Sheldon leaves one other legacy, and you could almost have predicted this. You almost could have predicted this. Sheldon Schumer's estate has established a foundation for ethics and leadership. That's Sheldon. That says it all. Thank you.
Minister of the Environment.
Mr. Speaker and members of the Legislative Assembly, it has been said that great trees are best measured when they are down. It is left to us today to take the measure of Sheldon Schumer and to honor his memory. We've lost a colleague. The people of Calgary-Buffalo have lost an effective, honest representative. The law has lost one of its most brilliant practitioners. Sheldon's many acquaintances have lost a beloved friend, and I have lost a close friend of over 30 years. Through our friendship and over some long discussions in Chinatown, I came to know of his love for Chinese food and some very strange dishes indeed. and his passion for old-fashioned rock and roll, his love of travel to all parts of the world. And I came to know of his athletic ability as far back as when he was a halfback for the Calgary Bronx and I was the water boy. But, Mr. Speaker, it's all Albertans who are poorer today because his untimely death has left us with a sense of unfinished business. For it is not what Sheldon has done, and his accomplishments were remarkable, but what he had left to do that we mourn. Sheldon Schumer had a vision for what this Alberta and this Canada could be. But his vision did not necessarily mean having a perfect roadmap for the future. His vision simply meant giving voice to important issues and galvanizing people to debate those issues. And oftentimes, his vision didn't necessarily mean giving all the right answers, but rather asking the right questions. We always knew that so long as Sheldon was among us, he would always remind us that the poor must be helped, that the defenseless must be defended, that civil liberties must be fiercely protected, that the law must be respected, that public service is an honorable calling, that citizenship is the responsibility of us all, and that there are no substitutes for honesty, integrity, and compassion. The highest honor, the most enduring tribute, and the most lasting legacy that this Assembly could pay to the memory of Sheldon Schumer would be for us to rededicate ourselves to those goals for which he stood.
Member for Calgary Forest Lawn.
Mr. Speaker, others have spoken about Sheldon Schumer's significance as an Albertan and indeed as a Canadian. In my remarks, I would like to stress the importance of Sheldon as a true citizen of Calgary. Members of this Assembly know him as hardworking, diligent, and as an extremely effective debater. They also know that he took up important causes and championed them relentlessly. Calgarians, though, also know Sheldon for these same qualities. As a youngster, he worked in his family's grocery store in the shadows of the old Buffalo baseball stadium in downtown Calgary. And what's important about that is that he never lost sight of his origins. He was always quick to defend common people and the underdog. Just recently, I learned that he skated with Vietnamese youth on many a Sunday afternoon. This was part of a program designed to help immigrant young people who were having difficulty adjusting to Canadian society. By the way, he was a good skater, and as others have mentioned, and according to his contemporaries at Central High School, pound for pound, he was a darn good halfback on the high school football team. I first met Sheldon during university days, and I remember getting in a long, impassioned discussion about civil rights movements in the United States and how lessons learned there could be used to diffuse prejudice and discrimination in Canada. This was a theme that Sheldon addressed throughout his life. In fact, his first public political involvement in Calgary was to support the principle of public schooling. Rita Dempsey, a past chairman of the Calgary Board of Education, says that Sheldon believed that children must live and work in an environment that is free of prejudice. And because of their universal accessibility, only public schools can meet this condition. Sheldon's reputation in Calgary was also based on his commitment to human rights and civil liberties. On one occasion, in which I was personally involved, he saw it as an absolute necessity that the right to freedom of expression be protected. He was prepared at his own expense, and this wasn't unusual for Sheldon, to take this issue all the way to the Supreme Court of Canada. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, I would like to mention that almost 2,000 people attended his memorial service in Calgary. That indicates just how many people he touched with his integrity, his ability, and his generosity. He'll be missed by all members of our caucus, but especially, I think, by the member for Mountain View and myself, who together with Sheldon were the first opposition to members to be elected in Calgary since the 1970s.
Would you all rise, please? Sergeant at Arms, would you march off the colors of Alberta, please? Please be seated. Clerk.
Introduction of visitors.
Mr. Speaker, members of the Assembly, it is a pleasure to introduce to you, through you to this Assembly, 4 members of the United Nations Industrial Development Organization. The Director General, Domingo Ciazon, Stephen Halloway, Representative to the United Nations and Director of the New York office, Herbert May, Senior Director for Industrial Cooperation from the head office in Vienna, and Raymond Gladieu, who is a representative in Canada, who resides in Montreal. Mr. Ciazon has been in Vancouver participating in Globe 92, is here today to meet with the government and private sector to discuss how his organization can assist Alberta companies in identifying business opportunities in developing countries. Mr. Speaker, I think it is significant that tomorrow, being the United Nations International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, that we should have with us in this Assembly today such significant representatives of the United Nations, and I would ask that they rise in the gallery and receive the warm welcome of the members of the legislature.
Presenting petitions.
Stony Plain.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on behalf of 24 schools from Parkland Local 10 of the Alberta Teachers Association. The petitions are putting forth ATA Resolution number 226/91, requesting the government to begin meaningful negotiations with teacher representatives to resolve the problems surrounding the Teachers' Retirement Fund.
Reading and receiving petitions. Presenting reports by standing and special committees.
Premier.
Speaker, I have the honor today to present to you and to members of the Assembly the report of the Alberta Select Special Committee on Constitutional Reform entitled Alberta in a New Canada, Visions of Unity.
Tabor Warner.
I'm pleased to present a report of the Standing Committee on Legislative Offices on the selection of Alberta's first Ethics Commissioner.
Thank you.
Notices of motions.
Premier.
Speaker, I give notice of the following motion. Be it resolved that the report of the Select Special Committee on Constitutional Reform, appointed in this Assembly on March the 26th of 1991, the report being entitled Alberta in a New Canada, Visions of Unity, be now received and concurred in.
Some notice of motion. Thank you. Minister of Technology, Research and Telecommunications.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to give notice of the following motion. Be it resolved that the report of the Standing Committee on Legislative Offices be now received and concurred in, that the appointment of Robert Clark as the first Alberta Ethics Commissioner be confirmed by this Assembly.
The member for Edmonton, Gold Bar, followed by Edmonton Avenue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg leave to give notice that under Standing Order 30, I'll request leave to adjourn the ordinary business of the day to discuss a matter of urgent public importance, that being the recent appointment of the Solicitor General.
Thank you. Edmonton Avonmore.
Speaker, I rise to give notice under Standing Order 40 that I will be asking for unanimous consent after question period today to the following motion. Be it resolved that the Legislative Assembly commemorate March 21st as the United Nations International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, and that each member of the Assembly today renews his or her commitment to work to eradicate racism and promote equality in all areas of endeavor in his or her public life.
Hear, hear. Edmonton Whiteman.
Mr. Speaker, I beg leave to propose the following motion to the Assembly under Section 40 after question period. Be it resolved that the Legislative Assembly reaffirm its support of multiculturalism as a positive characteristic of our society. Be it further resolved that the Legislative Assembly acknowledge that Albertans benefit because Alberta has welcomed people from all over the world, and that the diversity of their backgrounds gives our province strength. And be it further resolved that the Legislative Assembly reaffirm its support of the legislation, programs, services, and policies that are in place in this area.
Edmonton Millwoods.
Thank you. Thank you.
Introduction of bills. Tabling returns and reports.
Minister of Economic Development and Trade.
My pleasure, sir, to table 4 copies of the annual report of the Alberta Opportunity Company for the year ending March 31st, 1991, copies which have been previously distributed to all members.
Minister responsible for seniors.
I wish to table the annual report of the Premier's Council on the status of persons with disabilities for the year 1991.
Forestry, Lands and Wildlife.
Table today response to motion for return number 408 submitted by the member from West Loch Sturgeon last session, which incidentally I provided to him last September.
Minister of Health, followed by the member for Edmonton Avonmore.
Speaker, I am pleased to table with the Assembly today the following items: annual reports for the fiscal year ended March 31/91 for Alberta Hospital, Edmonton, which had been previously distributed to all members, and for the Alberta Registered Dietitians Association. The annual report for the Alberta Dental Association for year ended June 30/91, for the Alberta Association of Registered Nurses for the year ended September 30/91, and for the Public Health Advisory and Appeal Board for the year ended July 31, 1990. Copies of the latter 4 have been will be distributed to all members. I'm also pleased to table the Vital Statistics Annual Review for 1990, copies which had been previously distributed to all members. And finally, financial statements for the fiscal year ended March 31, 1991 for the Charles Camsell Provincial General Hospital, Alberta Children's Provincial General Hospital, the Foothills Provincial General Hospital, Glenrose Rehabilitation Hospital, Alberta Hospital Edmonton, Alberta Hospital Ponoka, Northern Alberta Children's Hospital, and the Alberta Cancer Board. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister of Energy, then Edmonton Avonmore.
On behalf of the Alberta Office of Renewable Energy Technology, I'm pleased to submit the Southwest Alberta Renewable Energy Initiative Annual Report 1990-91.
Edmonton Avonmore.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to table for the information of the members of this Assembly a letter from Edmonton Working Women requesting a full investigation into the allegations against the Solicitor General.
Introduction of special guests.
Member for Highwood, followed by Edmonton Avonmore.
Mr. Speaker, I'm delighted this morning to introduce to you 14 eager and keen students from Millerville Community School. They're accompanied by their teacher and vice principal, Mr. Tony Hampshire, and parent, Mrs. Karen Raymond. I'd ask them to rise in the gallery and receive the cordial welcome of this House.
Edmonton Avonmore.
It gives me great pleasure today to introduce to members of this Assembly and to you the son-in-law of the honourable member from Stony Plain, Dwayne Herenick, and his grandsons Robbie and Chad Herenick from Campbell River, BC. I would ask that they please rise and receive the warm welcome of this Assembly.
Honourable members, just a reminder earlier in session that while we've allowed that today, and it's all very nice, that in actual fact we try to reserve that privilege of introduction for a broader range of individuals. And having said that, then I'll just wink at my mother. Minister of Technology, Research and Telecommunications.
It's my pleasure on the first day of the session following the opening yesterday to introduce to you and to all members of the Assembly 31 students from St. Joseph's Elementary School, accompanied by 9 parents, and also teacher, Mr. Rob Comont. We're going to have the opportunity of meeting with them later, Mr. Speaker, and in the meantime, we would like to extend to them our warm welcome to this Assembly.
Edmonton Millwoods.
Speaker, I'm pleased to introduce to you and the members of the Assembly this morning 2 representatives of the Edmonton Multicultural Society. With us in the public gallery is the first Vice President of the Society, Dr. Lila Folman, as well as Christine LaSalle. I'd ask them now to stand and receive our very warm welcome.
Member for Edmonton Glengarry.
I would like to introduce to you and to members of this Assembly 2 Canadians who are active in the Ukrainian community in Alberta, Jim Jakuta and Bohdan Barabash. I wonder if they would stand and receive the usual greeting from this House. They are both executive members of the Ukrainian Professional and Businessmen's Association, Business Persons Association, and they are active members of the Ukrainian Canadian Congress.
Member for Grand Prairie, followed by the Minister of Education.
It was my pleasure this morning to introduce 2 members of the Grand Prairie Roman Catholic Separate School District, the Superintendent, Mr. Dennis Grant, and the Chairman of the Board, Mr. John Crokin. I'd ask them to stand and receive the welcome of the Assembly.
Minister of Education.
Today is Mrs. Natalie Harasimiou. She is with the Parents for Ukrainian Education and has been a strong pioneer in the preparation of materials for Ukrainian education. I'd ask her to rise and receive the warm welcome of members of the Assembly.
Ministerial statements.
Mr. Speaker, as Solicitor General of the Province of Alberta, I have the responsibility to deliver programs that ensure the protection and safekeeping of each and every individual. Because I regard the responsibility of this office of paramount importance to Albertans, I am making this statement. Recently, there has been a great deal written and reported on my character and relative past, which has hurt my family and damaged my reputation. I feel that any attempt to discredit my 20-year veterinary career is totally and unequivocally wrong and false. Yes, I was married in 1964. We were young. The marriage did not work out and was one of the most difficult times for both of us. The marriage ended 22 years ago in 1970 by a court decision on accepted grounds. It is over. There have been many stories and allegations about me. All stories have 2 sides to them, not a lot of which is known. In the course of events, it would be impossible to explain the details of much past and private life. Suffice to say, some of the stories, but not all, are surrounded by some degree of the use of alcohol. As Solicitor General, I am sensitive to this area of my life. Today, I make a commitment to the Premier, to this Legislative Assembly, and to the people of Alberta, that while I am Solicitor General, or any other minister of the Crown, I will refrain from the use of alcohol. This statement is in respect of the responsibility and trust that Albertans expect of this position. In the office of Solicitor General, I will work to the best of my abilities to carry out the programs in force today and strive to develop the necessary changes to make Alberta the safest as well as the best place to live. I apologize for any concern or doubt as to my sincerity or ability to serve my province. I thank my wife, my family, the Premier, my community, and supporters that have given their vote of confidence to me during the last 6 years.
Leader of the Opposition.
Let me reply to the Solicitor General and say, first of all, we can well understand, I think people in public life, the pressure and stress that the Solicitor General, the Minister, has been under. You seem to indicate that there are problems in your statement with alcohol and that you're going to refrain from the use of alcohol. And I would commend you on that. I think that takes courage to stand here and admit that, and I commend you for doing that, and I wish you luck in terms of your success in dealing with that matter. However, Mr. Speaker, there are some other problems, and we're dealing with the respect for the law. Now, Mr. Speaker, beyond alcohol, and when we're dealing with respect for the law, there is a matter of maintenance payments, Mr. Speaker. There's a matter of vigilante justice, things that are very important in terms of sensitivity, integrity of the position. But I would say, Mr. Speaker, to the Solicitor General, it's now the Premier that has to deal with it. It's his judgment now that's in question, Mr. Speaker, and we would like to pursue this in question period.
Minister of Culture, Multiculturalism.
Mr. Speaker, I'm rising today to draw the Assembly's attention to March 21st, tomorrow, which is the United Nations International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. And I do this today, and it's appropriate that we have visitors from the United Nations with us today. But each year, Mr. Speaker, this day serves to refocus the world's attention on a difficult problem that exists in our society and in others, and it makes us more aware of how diligent we must be in ensuring that racial barriers to full participation in our society are removed. Mr. Speaker, through the efforts of this government, through the Alberta Multiculturalism Commission, the Alberta Human Rights Commission, we've made a diligent effort at raising Albertans' awareness of the negative impacts of discrimination of any form in our society. And we actively promote the full participation of all people in Alberta society. Perhaps rather than viewing us, rather than a collection of ethnic and racial groups, we should look at ourselves as people. We would be better served if that were the case. We all want to benefit from the opportunities that exist in this province like nowhere else, and we should all have every opportunity to participate and contribute to this society. We must recognize, however, that we come from diverse backgrounds. As someone once said, many came here in different boats, but we're all in the same boat together now. That is today's reality. We are a diverse culture, and everyone who is participating in our society wants to succeed. This government wants to ensure that everyone has those opportunities, that no one is left out or feels they cannot participate in Alberta society for whatever reason. Not only does the government lose, but we all lose if one person cannot participate. Mr. Speaker, there are pieces of legislation endorsed by this Assembly. There are programs and policies put in place by this government. There have been motions passed by this Assembly, the strongest among them, one endorsed and promoted and sponsored by the member for Calgary Buffalo, who is honored so eloquently here this morning. As we think about tomorrow and the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, let us recommit ourselves, one and all, to furthering our objectives into the future. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Leader of the Opposition.
Speaker, I'd like to stand and react positively to the Minister's declaration and drawing attention to United Nations International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. While there's always bad news, we recently have had some good news, of course, with the referendum in South Africa. But a lot of people didn't know how it would go. we're hopeful for peace and justice and full democracy in the very near future in South Africa. Mr. Speaker, while there's encouraging signs in Alberta, there's discouraging signs too. Not as all is well in Alberta. I think the minister would agree with me. We've had the Aryan Nation spectacle, and in our major cities we've had gang wars that seem to have some racial connotations to them. We certainly see as we travel around enough racial slurs. Mr. Speaker, we know that in Alberta and in Canada that immigration is going to increase. So we're going to have to deal with this problem, Mr. Speaker. And I may say so to the government, to the minister, Mr. Speaker, we do need some concrete action to deal with some of these things, not just lip service. We look forward to such bills as employment equity. We look forward to more being done for English as a second language. We look forward to more being done dealing with racial prejudice in the school system. And certainly, above all, Mr. Speaker, the minister talks about the Alberta Multicultural Commission. The very least we could do, Mr. Speaker, is have that body elected. What better way than to have open government, Mr. Speaker, and to do that? Now, Mr. Speaker, but in conclusion, certainly we in the official opposition participate fully in the United Nations International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination.
Before we proceed to oral question period, the chair has a relatively brief statement to make to the House. The chair held a meeting with the three House leaders and a number of issues were briefly discussed. Agreement was reached to meet in the very near future to discuss possible changes to some of our House procedures. For purposes of this session, the operation of question period will continue in the same format as last session. However, as always, brief questions and answers are encouraged because it will allow more honorable members to participate. In the past few years, an equitable system has been developed by both chair and table to allow the processing of motions other than government motions and private members' bills. This year, a process was set in place to help in the preparation of bills, which enabled table officers to better serve all members and allow members to prioritize their bills. The request for changes in priorities in the last few days has unfortunately impacted the efficiency of this process and created needless extra work for the table, but hopefully this will be adjusted in the next few days. Alberta has the largest order paper in the country and quite possibly the Commonwealth. And that, no doubt, reflects the healthy interests of members in things parliamentary. However, a more orderly submission of written questions and motions for returns will need to be developed. Some backlog will occur for the next few days, since some members have deluged the order paper with as many as 132 matters within a 36-hour period, just prior to or immediately upon opening day, including one member who signed two originals of one separate motion for return on the same day and seemed unaware of his duplications. Order, order. A memo has gone out to all members with regard to petitions, and I am certain honorable members who carry responsibility for petitions will ensure that neither Elvis Presley or Mickey Mouse are signatories to their petitions. Petitions are a serious parliamentary matter. The chair is pleased that a select special committee will be established with respect to improving the functioning of this legislature. The table officers and the chair have done extensive research and analysis, especially regarding standing orders, and are willing to assist any committee or member in this regard. The chair has urged consideration of other issues such as length of speeches, member statement period, and hours of sitting, and is given to understand by House leaders that there is every possibility of a motion coming before the House in the near future giving effect to some of these matters. Karen South has served this legislature and its members with distinction for 11 years and has taken up her duties with the Office of the Ethics Commissioner. We thank her for her work and wish her well. Louise Kamichuk has ably served the Legislative Assembly for 9 years, and we welcome her to her role as Clerk Assistant. And I hope you will also welcome our new Parliamentary Counsel, Frank Wark. And finally, 2 sets of congratulations. First, to 21 members who today celebrate their 3rd anniversary since they were first elected to this Assembly. And slightly belated congratulations to the 7 members who refer to themselves as the notorious class of '79, who celebrated on March the 14th their 13th anniversary of election.
Period.
Mr. Speaker, to the Premier. Mr. Speaker, since the appointment of the new Solicitor General a month ago, all of us have been subjected to a parade of allegations about our new chief lawman. They range from alleged wife abuse to drunken disorderly conduct to cruelty to animals. Mr. Speaker, most importantly, though, I admit and agree that these are allegations, but most importantly, we know for sure that he's had his wages garnished for not making maintenance payments, and the RCMP has confirmed that last summer they responded in the middle of the night to a complaint that the member for Vermilion Biking was destroying property in his neighbor's backyard. He has clearly indicated, Mr. Speaker, that he's proud of being involved in vigilante justice, which hardly shows respect for the law. My question to the Premier is simply this. Given this pattern of consistent behavior over 20 years, why would the Premier appoint this man to such a sensitive position as Solicitor General?
Mr. Speaker, selection of cabinet members is obviously one of assessment, judgment, of balance. Of course, in our system, Mr. Speaker, must be somebody who is elected by the people of Alberta, different than, for instance, the United States. Mr. Speaker, there is a geographical balance, gender balance, assessment of how a member may have handled responsibilities in previous portfolios. And, Mr. Speaker, all of these matters are considered, and then a decision is made.
Mr. Speaker, my question to the Premier was specifically, knowing all these things that we now know about the Solicitor General, Mr. Speaker, why did he appoint him as Solicitor General when he'd shown that disrespect to the law in the past, Mr. Speaker? That's the question.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the honourable member has referred to allegations and stories. I would say, Mr. Speaker, that in my responsibilities as Premier, leader of the government, stories may have a big impact with the honourable member in his judgments, but stories are not something that on which you base decisions.
This position has been compromised. The integrity of the Solicitor General has been compromised. The Premier doesn't understand that. Some of it isn't stories, Mr. Speaker. Some of it's on the record. But my question to the Premier, Mr. Speaker, because he avoided telling us, I'm not sure if he knew about this or not. Either way, he's incompetent in his judgment, Mr. Speaker. My question to the Premier is simply this. Will he now admit he has made a mistake, take the pressure off the Solicitor General, and remove him from his post so that the integrity of this position can be preserved, Mr. Speaker?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Solicitor General has dealt with these matters today.
Second main question, Leader of the Opposition.
We're talking about your judgment, not the Solicitor General. Mr. Speaker, let me go back to the Premier and go from one bad appointment to another. Mr. Speaker, Alberta's reputation has been severely damaged in international circles because of this government's addiction to patronage, Mr. Speaker, the Old Boys Network. Joe Dutton, a former executive secretary to Premier Peter Lougheed, who was appointed, Mr. Speaker, by the current Minister of Energy as Alberta's Director of Business Immigration in Hong Kong, has tarnished the reputation of our province through questionable business dealings with other people's money, Mr. Speaker. This cronyism gone rotten has stained Alberta's reputation in an Oriental culture where long-term relationships are based on trust. And this is essential for good business, Mr. Speaker. My question to the Premier is this. Will the Premier tell this Assembly whether Mr. Dutton used his government position in Hong Kong to line up business deals for himself?
Mr. Speaker, I think the honourable member would know that 99.9% of all selections to the public service of Alberta are made through a wide array of solicitations, advertising, committees, selection committees in order to select the best people possible, training within the public service and personnel administration office. In some cases, Mr. Speaker, we have personal knowledge of people that reflect very directly the policies and thinking of the government, and they are, in certain cases, we're able to save the dollars of all the other terms of a selection process. I would say, Mr. Speaker, that the Mr. Dutton, who has been referred to the absolute best of my knowledge, complete checking, did not in any way use his time while he was employed by the government of Alberta to get involved in what he later did as a private citizen.
Well, if you believe in that, Mr. Speaker, you probably believe in the tooth fairy. Mr. Speaker, but more immediately, Mr. Speaker, because this is a serious matter, under the name of Western Canada Properties, Mr. Dutton has lined up another multi-million deal with Asian investors. But this time, Mr. Speaker, the investment requires the approval of the provincial government. And my question to the Premier is simply this. Given that the province must approve this current deal by Joe Dutton, will the Premier put a halt to it until this House can be assured that Alberta's reputation will not be further damaged by this new project?
Mr. Speaker, those are the responsibilities of the Minister of Career Development and Employment, and ask him to respond to the honourable member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I welcome the opportunity to clarify a few facts for the honourable member and members of the Assembly. Yes, the Leader of the Opposition is correct in stating that the Western Canadian Properties is an Alberta fund. I would point out, though, that, Mr. Premier, this fund was offered in 1990, some 3 years plus since Mr. Dutton had then left the employ of the provincial government as an executive assistant to then Premier Lougheed. I would also indicate as well, though, that this fund, according to Mr. Dutton's information, because I didn't feel it was proper that I should respond on any fund offering whatsoever, but because of the level of funding, which was subscribed at some $250,000 versus the $150,000 offering in Saskatchewan and other provinces, created what would be termed an unequal playing field. There has been no offering or no subscriptions taken to that offering at this time, and the fund will expire in May 1992.
I can understand, well, nobody's taken up the offers, Mr. Speaker. And I might point out to the Premier, Mr. Speaker, that already there's fax photocopies of a weekend series from the Calgary Herald. They've been plastered across windows of immigration consultants' offices in Hong Kong, labeled, buyer beware, don't invest in Western Canada, Mr. Speaker. So that's the seriousness of this problem. My question to either the Premier or the Minister is this. Given the threat to Alberta's reputation that such rapid cronyism creates, will the Premier now commit to holding open competitions and making such appointments by merit rather than by political connection?
Hear, hear. Hear, hear. Well, Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition obviously wasn't listening when I answered his first question.
I should comment with regards to the allegations about the information being posted in various Hong Kong offices. It'll be interesting to note, as a recent offering that's just been put out by the province of Alberta, to see how well that will be taken up in relation to the comparison and alleged remarks that Alberta's reputation has been damaged.
Mr. Glengarry, Leader of the Liberal Party.
Mr. Speaker, my questions are to the Honourable Premier. Premier has responsibility for the selection of cabinet. We've witnessed, read about, heard about serious allegations involving the Solicitor General in terms of bullying and threats and vigilante activities, and in terms of trashing other people's assets. We assume, Mr. Premier, that your offices have done the appropriate investigation of these stories, as you call them. And I would like to ask the Premier whether or not these accusations are true and correct.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like first to express on behalf of myself, my family, members of our government and caucus, to the Honourable Member from Glengarry, our pleasure at seeing him here in the legislature, and our best wishes for the future, and caution him from personal experience to not rush in returning to heavy responsibilities that he has, because the best advice from his family and doctor would be to make sure you have your strength and endurance before pursuing heavy responsibilities. But we are Mr. Speaker, I have discussed the matters that the Honourable Member has been talking about. As I explained to the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, the Honourable Solicitor General has dealt with these matters today. He categorized them in two special ways. One was some 20 or more years old marriage when he was and his wife then were young and had a difficult personal times together. Many members in this assembly have gone through similar occasions, I guess. And then the behavioral situation when alcohol was involved, and which he has had the strength and the courage to stand here and talk to before not just his colleagues in the legislature, but to all the people of Alberta and Canada. And I believe he has dealt with this matter very effectively.
Mr. Speaker, I can only assume from that answer, first of all, thank you for the comments about not rushing it, Mr. Premier. Mr. Premier, I'm surprised that the question, that you appear to be dodging the question. I'm not talking about a marriage of 25 years ago. That's important. But I was talking about serious issues involving the last year of vigilante activities, of bullying, of threats, of trashing people's property. Have you looked into these things, these stories as you call them? And if you have, is that other side of these stories, are those correct statements that have been made? Surely you have satisfied yourself on that.
Mr. Speaker, if the Honourable Member from Glengarry was listening to the Solicitor General today, he heard him refer to both sides of all situations, and I certainly am aware of other sides, if you like, and they are things that I would not discuss because they involve other people's personal situations. But I would say to the Honourable Member that the way a minister handles their responsibilities, how they perform, should be the key criteria to any member of this Assembly, and certainly the criteria that I've put great emphasis on.
Mr. Speaker, we know that the Premier has not seen it necessary to interview the minister's former wife. I would like to know whether or not the Premier or members of his office have interviewed those people who have spoken out about the bullying, the vigilante activity, and the trashing of assets.
Mr. Speaker, in terms of the Solicitor General's former wife, when a request came for a meeting, I happened to be ill at the time and in bed, but within less than an hour of being advised of the request, I had the Premier, the acting Premier at the time, meet with her, and at my insistence, the Minister of Labour, who's responsible for women's issues as well. They had a fairly extensive meeting and reported to me when I returned to work that a further meeting would not be necessary. The Honourable Solicitor General has made a statement today which kind of reflects on certain matters involving the former Mrs. West. If she feels that she still would like an additional meeting with me, it may be that I will have a chance to meet with her in the future, and I would see if there is something more to talk to her about. But to be clear, the acting Premier met with her as quickly as possible. The Minister responsible for women's issues was there. They reported to me, and it seemed to be no reason for another meeting.
Pincher Creek Crow's Nest.
Mr. Speaker, considerable effort has been made by Alberta and Western Canadian coal mining communities, industry and government to promote the use of Western Canadian coal in Ontario. As early as January of this year, it appeared that Ontario Hydro would not be renewing their contracts for Western Canadian coal. However, recently, Lusker Sturco has signed a contract with Ontario Hydro. My question to the Minister of Energy, could he advise the Assembly of the impact of this contract on the Alberta economy and the Western Canadian coal industry?
Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate the concern expressed by the member for Pincher Creek Crow's Nest, and I'd first like to acknowledge his participation in the Association of Canadian Coal Municipalities, which has a very significant impact on coal trade outside of our province. Mr. Speaker, the honourable member points out a significant fact in the contract between Lusker and Ontario Hydro, and that significant fact is that we were on the brink of losing that contract as recently as January of this year. Fortunately, through tough negotiations, Lusker was able to maintain their market share of Ontario coal, albeit less than on an overall basis because of a declining demand for coal in Ontario and because of the nature of their economy. Mr. Speaker, it is a very important part of our economy, coal, and we will continue to support initiatives such as this and make sure that despite the declining demand that we continue to keep the overall mix of Alberta coal in consumption in the rest of Canada.
Supplementary, Mr. Speaker. As Alberta is Canada's largest coal mining producer, the Minister advised the Assembly of any other actions or initiatives he or the government is taking to promote the use of Western Canadian coal in national and international markets.
Mr. Speaker, with regard to international markets, I had the pleasure to make representations to some of our largest coal consumers in Japan and in Korea, our largest export market, where they too are putting significant pressure on price and volumes on our coal producers here in the province. The point that the honourable member brings out underlines the importance of our Action Committee on Western Canadian Coal to Ontario, which is our Premier is a participant with other Premiers from Western Canada and the Honourable Don Mazankowski to try and make sure that we overcome hurdles to increasing sales of coal beyond the province of Alberta. One of the biggest hurdles, Mr. Speaker, is transportation. The cost of transportation on a mileage basis is much higher than the United States, and before we can make significant inroads on increasing sales of coal outside of Alberta to Eastern Canada, the issue of transportation must be addressed. I'm advised that April of this year, the Action Committee on behalf of the Western Premiers will be meeting the Secretariat to deal with issues such as transportation.
Ascona.
given the Attorney General's recent refusal to hold a public inquiry into the Nepus case, smacks of an attempt to sweep under the rug serious concerns with respect to matters concerning the administration of justice, such as suppression of evidence, selective presentation of evidence, coercion, and racism, and it also raises the issue of miscarriage of justice. My question is for the Attorney General. Given that Justice Causey expressed disapproval of having the police investigate their own conduct, why does the Attorney General refuse to hold a public independent inquiry in this case?
Mr. Speaker, I'd first like to caution the honourable member, who is a member of the Law Society, that this matter is still before the court. So in our discussions, we must be very careful in the context that we put the case in. This particular instance was reviewed completely, judicially, not only through the original trial court, but twice at the Court of Appeal, and once by a commissioner, Commissioner Sinclair, appointed by the Court of Appeal to in fact go through all of the original evidence and any of the new evidence. His report was given to the Court of Appeal. The Court of Appeal then adjudicated and returned it for a new trial on really two things. First of all, the evidence had changed because there was the death of one of the key witnesses and a recantation of the testimony of another key witness. Through the inquiry, there was definitely an indication that some of the investigatory procedures were inadequate and there were some inconsistencies. We analyzed that through the Attorney General's Department and concurred, and through dialogue with the RCMP, they have committed to undertake an inquiry. We did analyze it also to find out whether there should be a further inquiry that we could have. There is a case in the Supreme Court, Putnam case, that clearly spells out we do not have jurisdiction to investigate RCMP matters on an operational basis. The RCMP have concurred with us through the Commissioner that there will be a complete investigation as the procedures that were used and the inadequacies, which they admit are some, and that those will be forthcoming.
The poor substitute for a public inquiry. The Causey report states that the perception that police are sometimes prejudiced against Aboriginal people is widespread, and it seems to me, my question here is for the Solicitor General, it seems to me that it's time that the concerns of Aboriginal peoples are addressed. Will the Solicitor General petition the Attorney General to hold a public inquiry into this matter so that Aboriginal peoples and all Albertans may have an answer to the question as to whether there's been an abuse of police powers or a miscarriage of justice?
Mr. Speaker, the Attorney General has addressed this and has indicated as strongly as he can that this matter still exists in the court, before the court, and I will say that the investigation by the RCMP through the federal government into their actions will be carried out in a responsible manner.
Member for Edmonton Gold-Bar.
Speaker, the Solicitor General has said he's committed to curbing family violence in Alberta. Will he now tell the House what his position is on treatment programs for men who abuse their spouse?
Mr. Speaker, I fully endorse all of the programs that were brought forward by my predecessor, and I will be looking into the future at programs that will address and hopefully work in the very area that the member has indicated.
Speaker, Mr. Speaker, just draw to your attention that the minister advertises programs for men who batter. Will he now guarantee also to provide funding for those programs, particularly the Changing Ways program, which is going to go out of business at the end of this month?
Hear, hear.
Mr. Speaker, you know, as my department's budgets come forward in the near future, and all members will have a chance to discuss them and work at passing them, and I trust that the member will join in on those initiatives. I will look at programs then and trustfully have some dollars at that time to look at some new initiatives in this direction and to work with the other departments of health, social services, education, and the minister responsible for women's issues. And I assure you that my intent is to bring forth a strong endorsement from the Department of Solicitor General as to the principles that have already been started in 1990, and that is related to enforcement, policing education, victim support, public awareness, and rehabilitation and coordination with agencies out there.
Karimbi.
Mr. Speaker, recently the provincial treasurer made announced a number of very positive initiatives with respect to public service pensions and with respect to the local authorities' pension plan. However, Mr. Speaker, there was no reference made in this announcement to the Teachers' Retirement Fund, and therefore I would like to ask the Minister of Education just what is the status of the various issues that are facing this fund in the province at this time.
Well, Mr. Speaker, this government and all members of this government share a common concern with the teachers and the professionals within the Alberta Teachers Association to seek an affordable and a practical solution to the financial problems facing the Teachers' Retirement Fund. And we had a series of discussions this time last year, Mr. Speaker, that led to an interim memorandum of understanding. Regrettably, that memorandum was not accepted by representatives of the profession across the province. But, Mr. Speaker, I have advised the President of the Alberta Teachers Association in a letter last week that the government is now prepared to recommence our discussions to find that affordable and practical solution.
Mr. Speaker, further supplementary question then. Given that there is an initiative underway to revive negotiations, does the Minister have any schedule to report to the Assembly as to when these negotiations or discussions might be concluded?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. The discussions between the representatives of government and the representatives of the Alberta Teachers Association will begin by a meeting between the two sides next week, and it certainly is our intention, Mr. Speaker, to ensure that that legislation is brought forward during this session of the legislature to amend the Teachers' Retirement Fund Act, again to find that affordable and practical solution.
Mr. Speaker, this morning I keep hearing the Solicitor General and the Premier talking about how there's always two sides to a story. But so far, Mr. Speaker, all I see is the Premier listening to one side, that being the side of the Solicitor General. My question with respect to the allegations made regarding the Solicitor General during the last month is this. Why won't the Premier meet with all those people who have brought forward allegations and get their side of the story so he can make an objective assessment of the situation?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I've certainly dealt with the matter already. I've talked with the Solicitor General about these matters, and I'm satisfied, Mr. Speaker, with the position the Solicitor General has expressed today.
Mr. Speaker, notwithstanding the statement of the Minister this morning, the point is that no objective review is being held, and the other people who are prepared to speak can't get the ear of this Premier. My question then to the Premier is this. If he's not willing to meet with all of the people who have gone on the record with respect to allegations regarding the Solicitor General, will he establish an independent person or commission to do so that the air can be cleared, Mr. Speaker?
Mr. Speaker, there have been, I referred to one request, which was dealt with within an hour, requesting a meeting. I certainly haven't received any other requests. I would caution the honourable member and that there is another family. There is the family. There is the family, Mr. Speaker, and I would ask honorable members to consider the family, and a wonderful family, and a family that has been in existence for a long time and is a superb family.
Calgary Mountain View.
Yesterday we heard rhetoric about how this government would repent from their secretive ways and would make information more accessible. Today we hope that there might be action to match yesterday's rhetoric, but not surprisingly we still have the deals with Peter Pocklington, the Gainer's financial statements, the master agreement. They're still as secretive as ever. As well, the audited financial statements for failed business ventures that cost taxpayers so much also are still secret. So I'd like to ask the provincial treasurer, who has been the most secretive minister, the most secretive government in Canada, will he now commit to making public the master agreement with Peter Pocklington, audited financial statements of Gainers, and the financial statements of failed business ventures in which taxpayers now have a significant stake?
Mr. Speaker, I'll try and sweep them all into one answer, Mr. Speaker. As the member knows, the government of Alberta is pursuing in the Alberta courts at least 7 actions against the former owner of Gainers. Consequently, Mr. Speaker, since these matters are now proceeding into discovery and well into trial, it would be inappropriate for the government to produce those records, which may in fact bias either our position or the defendant's position.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, there's no repentance here. Unlike most provinces in the House of Commons, our public accounts have still not been released, despite having been prepared for many months. Ontario, for example, had theirs as early as last October. Also, we still don't have the audited financial statements for Novotel for 1990, nor the financial results for 1991. To the Premier, Mr. Speaker, in order to dispel the impression that this so-called priority of his government is nothing more than an empty, insincere gesture, will he now direct his ministers to make those financial statements and documents public?
Right now. Well, Mr. Speaker, what a tortuous line of questioning the honourable member is. After all this time that we have been waiting to get back in the legislature, he jumps back into history. Couldn't this member in some way get himself contemporary? I mean, here we are in the legislature. We've waited to come back to the House, wondering if the honourable member might have something refreshing and new and talk about. And I really feel kind of sorry for the honourable member, Mr. Speaker. But all these things, Mr. Speaker, will be dealt with as we proceed through the session.
Sturgeon. Westlock Sturgeon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is questions to the Solicitor General, who has the responsibility for policing alcohol-related offences, especially with respect to drunk driving. What can the minister say to the House that will convince the House that the government is going to continue the past minister's very good record with this regard?
There you go. Go ahead, Tony. Nick can't hear.
Mr. Speaker, impaired driving definitely is a crime, and it cannot be tolerated as it endangers the lives of each and every motorist that's out there. The programs that have been started will be continued with the utmost, direction. And I'm looking forward in this new budget that's coming out, and I'll hope again, as I mentioned to somebody else, that I will be helped by the members opposite to ensure that I have that budget voted on. I'll be looking forward to some new recommendations that will see increased enforcement activities to detect incidents of impaired driving, public awareness campaigns to develop and advertise new impaired initiatives, and I'll be looking at prevention and education programs intended to deter people from drinking and driving.
Thank you, Mr. Minister. Recently, the Minister and the Minister of Environment had a meeting in a local business establishment where the Minister encountered a recent visitor to Canada and words are exchanged. Could the Minister tell the House tonight who drove home from that party?
Chair recognizes the member for Grand Prairie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to direct the question to the Minister of Labour. I'd like to make reference to the strike situation in the Grand Prairie public school system in Grand Prairie, and I would ask the Minister if she could give us an indication of the position of the government on this issue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Indeed, the teachers in Grand Prairie are on strike as locked out by the locally elected public school board. As I understand it, talks are continuing, and we have, of course, made available a mediator to assist them in it. It is my view that it is the responsibility of the school board and the union to continue those talks and to come to an agreement as quickly as possible. It is their responsibility to do so. And of course, we here, as I'm sure people elsewhere, keep firmly in mind the first priority, which is the children and the young people who are attending the school system.
Edmonton Jasper, please.
Mr. Speaker, my question is for the Minister of Forestry, Lands and Wildlife. Certain members of the cattle industry recently proposed that some 25,000 square kilometers of public lands which are presently under some type of agricultural disposition be transferred to the administration of the Department of Agriculture. Albertans who are concerned about our dwindling wildlife population and habitat are fearful that such a policy is perhaps a precursor to another agenda to sell those lands and to perhaps cultivate them. And there is a vague reference in the throne speech to, I quote, a new natural resources management policy. I would like the Minister to give his assurance today in the Assembly that he will never agree to transfer these lands from the multiple-use public lands branch to the single-use agricultural ministry.
Mr. Speaker, there's been a significant amount of discussion over the past few months by a number of groups with respect to public lands in Alberta. And one of the areas that makes it a difficult issue to deal with is that there are so many competing uses. I share with the members that I'm of the view that it isn't so much the transfer that matters. There are certain irritants that need to be dealt with. One is the whole area of access trespass, and there's areas that we have to deal with. But no decision has been made with respect to any transfer of any lands.
Well, Mr. Speaker, with that vague response, I would like to ask a supplementary to the Premier, if I may. In the throne speech, the government discovered after some 20 years that it should be listening to the people of Alberta. I think they mentioned listening 11 times in 11 pages. I wonder if the Premier would promise today to give Albertans a chance to be heard on this particular proposal through a public hearing process before he makes any changes which make further compromise the wilderness and the wildlife habitat of Alberta.
Well, Mr. Speaker, we will consistently listen to the people of Alberta. I think the honourable member is correct that the throne speech did mention it. Certainly did mention the very numerous additional times that we've listened and provide opportunities, but we will continue to do it at every possible chance.
Calgary McKnight.
My question is to the Minister of Education. As the Minister knows, there have been many demonstrations and rallies and meetings in Calgary regarding potential cutbacks to ESL funding. This, of course, would mean that a number of students would never have any success in our province. They must be given some assistance. To assure that school boards, not only in Calgary but across the province, can offer good quality ESL programs, is the Minister prepared to commit today to shifting funds into ESL block funding to increase that funding?
Mr. Speaker, the honourable member raises a very important part of educating our young people, and especially new Canadians who come to our country. What the government does through provincial taxpayers' dollars is contribute approximately $750 a year per student for 3 years to each funded ESL or English as a second language student. And those dollars are there. They're paid not only with a 3% grant rate increase this year, but for every eligible English as a second language child that are in our schools, they receive that funding. So, Mr. Speaker, the commitment is there, the funding is there, and what I encourage school boards to do is use that funding in the best possible way to achieve the results that we all want to achieve for our young people, and especially in this case for new Canadian children, that they have an opportunity to learn and that they become fully literate in the English language.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate that there are monies there now for a 3-year period, but many experts in the field have told us that 3 years is not long enough, and that in order to prepare curriculum and so on, they need longer-term funding, which is actually of a higher amount. Again, would the minister commit to shifting funds? I'm not asking for more expense. I'm asking for reprioritizing and shifting funds to this area. It's crucial.
Mr. Speaker, the honourable member refers to experts in the field. Experts in the field also tell us that the one way to ensure that children learn how to speak and read and learn it, they know English, is that they focus their efforts on doing just that. And what we say, rather than asking for more money or additional dollars or reallocated dollars, how well are we spending taxpayers' dollars today to achieve the common objective, which is make sure that those children know how to read and write and know and can communicate in the English language. So I encourage school boards to focus on achieving clearly stated goals, objectives, results, and put the dollars which are there, put them in place, and then account for having achieved those results.
Order in the House, please. Thank you, Vegreville.
Mr. Speaker, since the House last met, thousands of farmers across the province joined together and met in rallies in various communities to express their very deep and legitimate concern about their futures, the futures of their families, and indeed concern about the very survival of the communities that they support. Now the government comes forward, Mr. Speaker, with the flimsiest, poorest excuse for a legislative agenda that I've ever seen that mentions absolutely nothing for agriculture. And I'd like to ask the Minister of Agriculture how he justifies that.
Not a word. Mr. Speaker, I think if the honourable member for Vegreville had listened to the throne speech yesterday, or would maybe read it, I can show him a number of places in that throne speech that makes reference to agriculture, to farmers. But I think I should also share with the honourable member that rather than waiting for a throne speech or a new budget, that last fall, after meeting with farm leaders from all across the province, a meeting between the Premier and some 100 farm leaders, we came out in mid-November with a pretty significant response to problems in the agricultural community, including such things as the re-establishment of the farm fuel benefits, a full provincial government participation into the NISA program, which was very well received by our grain and oilseed producers, a one-year extension of certain opportunities of financing under the Agricultural Development Corporation, and a few others that I could go on to enumerate, but it looks like Mr. Speaker is getting nervous.
Supplement.
Mr. Speaker, my apologies to the Honourable Minister. They do indeed spell the word agriculture correctly in the throne speech and refer to farming as part of Alberta in another place. But there's nothing in here that outlines new, innovative programs to deal with the problems that farmers are facing with debt, with prices for their commodities, and nothing that outlines a blueprint for survival for agriculture into the 1990s. What are you going to do?
Mr. Speaker, again, my critic is missing a lot of important things that are going on around the province today. I would suggest that he should bring himself up to date with what is happening on GATT, which is where the significant decisions are going to be made with respect to the future of certain segments of the industry. I would suggest that maybe he get a little more knowledgeable on the transportation talks issues, where some other significant decisions are going to be made. And I would hope that he will be supportive of the changes that are necessary to strengthen our number one industry and take it into the next century.
Calgary Northwest.
My question today is to the Attorney General. The fact that the RCMP is investigating their behavior in the Wilson-Nepos case is evidence, I think, clearly of some serious errors that occurred there. My question to the Attorney General is this: will the Attorney General commit to an independent review of the Crown prosecutors in his department's involvement in that case?
Mr. Speaker, the honourable member should talk to his colleague directly in front of him, who has already put out a news release in this matter, but the Crown's procedure in the case was fully reviewed by Commissioner Sinclair, as I referred to in my previous answer. The evidence that was developed and brought forward by the RCMP is what is put forward by the Crown prosecutor. And in this case, neither the Commissioner nor myself have any doubts in the way that the case was conducted by the Crown. There may be, as the RCMP admitted, some problems in their procedures, and that's being investigated.
Consent to complete this series of questions. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Calgary Northwest.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Since the Causey report highlighted a number of concerns with respect to native justice, would the Attorney General please tell the House what his department plans to do to promote and foster some of the recommendations made in that report then?
Mr. Speaker, the Causey report was brought forward some time ago, and there's a steering committee of the Attorney General's Department, the Solicitor General's Department, and all of the native groups that were part of the study. The report had approximately 333 recommendations, over which a third of them were already being carried out and in full implementation when the report came forward. There's approximately another 100 of them that have already been put into place, and the steering committee is working on a mechanism to develop those that they themselves think can be brought forward, and should not be too much longer, and they will be reporting back, and it will be obvious to everyone the initiatives that are going ahead. Very important initiatives. I might agree with the honourable member for the Northwest.
Thank you, honourable members. All members have been circulated with at least 3 pieces of paper relating to Standing Order 30, Standing Order 40 requests. They will be taken in the order in which they were received. Therefore, the first one is Edmonton Whitemud, followed by Edmonton Gold Bar, then Edmonton Avonmore. Chair recognizes Edmonton Whitemud. Standing order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The copy of the notice of motion has been distributed to each member in the House. It has been read into the record, and I wish to speak to it very briefly to point out the need, the very, very important need to support this particular motion that is in front of us. In recent times, Mr. Speaker, there has been comments that have been made. There has been lack of action that has resulted in members of ethnocultural communities having some doubts as to the government's commitment to our commitment to multiculturalism in this province. And I believe we must reaffirm our commitment to those multicultural, to those ethnocultural groups. We must reaffirm our desire to demonstrate to the people of Alberta that we in fact do want a united province, a united country that recognizes that our structure, our society is made up of people from all over the world, from different parts of the world. We must reaffirm our recognition that there are differences amongst us when we talk in terms of traditions, when we talk in terms of beliefs, when we talk in terms of values. We must reaffirm our recognition of the great resource that ethnocultural groups that individual members are to our society in terms of tapping in international trading markets, and we must be very, very aware of the immense benefits as a result of that great resource that we do have. And, Mr. Speaker, we must reaffirm to all members of our society that we recognize that there is a valuable contribution that has been made, that is made, that will be continued to be made by people from all parts of the world, whether they come from Germany, whether they come from Finland, whether they come from India, whether they come from China, from Japan, whatever. We recognize that Canada is a society that is made up of a very diverse mixture of people, and we recognize that Canada was built as a result of the talents, the skills that those people brought with them to this country. My father, my wife, and I could go on and on and on. And we have to, Mr. Speaker, in my opinion, we have to reaffirm to those ethnocultural groups that we do stand behind them, that we recognize the values of multiculturalism, and that we are not casting doubt. As a result of the motion that is in front of us today, I believe that reaffirms this government's, this body's commitment to multiculturalism throughout the province.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Take your place. Thank you. Standing Order 40 is very precise. A motion may, in case of urgent and pressing necessity, previously explained by the mover, period. Practice in the House will not be varied. And as pointed out there, the case is to be made not speaking to the motion, but the matter of the urgency. Therefore, the Chair puts the question to the House. All those in favor that the matter proceed, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. The matter fails. Honourable members, order. Order, honourable members, order. Chair last year. Take your place, honourable member. Take your place. Honourable member, you've been in this House a long time. Order, honourable members, there's no need for that either. You know the practice of the House. You're not to stand when the Chair is speaking to the House. Also, honourable members recall last year that a member was invited to leave the House for crying shame. It was pointed out at that time on a similar issue that we will follow the practice of Erskine May in that regard. That will not be allowed by the Chair. And other comments about not being in favor of whatever the motion was proposing are inappropriate. Chair now recognizes the member for Edmonton Gold Bar, Standing Order 30 request.
Request leave to adjourn the ordinary business to discuss a matter of urgent public importance. That is the propriety of the appointment recently of the Solicitor General. Mr. Speaker, we are all in this House legislators. We all make laws and we all must obey those laws. We all must respect those laws, and we all must be an example and a model to others in how we behave in relationship to those laws. Mr. Speaker, that then calls into question the recent appointment of the Solicitor General. Certainly, many people in this House have things in their past that they regret or would have changed, but we're talking here, Mr. Speaker, about facts and about present activity, and I think that has to be considered. This office of Solicitor General, Mr. Speaker, must command confidence, complete confidence in the public of Alberta, in the members of this legislature, in all legislators, in all law enforcement agencies, and in all law enforcement agents of this province. The propriety of the appointment, Mr. Speaker, indicates to me that we have a double standard, that it's all right for members of this legislature or for members of the cabinet to be in breach of the legislation, but it's not all right for citizens. Mr. Speaker, the anger and aggression that has been attested to indicates to me uncontrolled and unacceptable behavior. Mr. Speaker, there's been a court order for maintenance which has been disobeyed. There's been evidence, factual evidence, regarding disrespect for other people's property and trashing of other people's possessions. Mr. Speaker, this appointment sends the wrong message. It sends the wrong message to women. It sends a message to women that this government doesn't care about maintenance enforcement. We have a maintenance enforcement department that tries hard to bring some equity to that system. But this appointment sends a different message. I wonder if the Solicitor General himself considers his behavior here acceptable. What does he think about other people who disobey the maintenance enforcement court orders that are given in this province? What does he think about other people who are given to uncontrollable anger and aggression and trash other people's property? Mr. Speaker, we are all aggrieved. Every member of this House is aggrieved when any one of us is in breach of the legislation. This Office of Solicitor General is the custodian of the enforcement of laws. The appointment sends a very distorted and improper message to law enforcers across the province. We've seen a series of matters in major urban centers where law enforcement officers, Mr. Speaker, have been, their conduct has been called into question. In fact, some have not only been disciplined but have been charged. What kind of message does this send to law enforcement agencies and agents across the province? The appointment, I submit, Mr. Speaker, illustrates flawed judgment on the part of the Premier. It places the Solicitor General in an impossible position of trying to defend what is indefensible. The matter, Mr. Speaker, is being raised in every corner of this province by people in all walks of life. The integrity of the office of the Solicitor General is in question. It may have been compromised impossibly, and it needs our immediate attention.
Speaking to the matter of urgency, the Chair recognizes the member for Edmonton Strathcona, followed by the Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The question of urgency, it seems to me, is of paramount importance here. We have to decide whether or not, in the circumstances here, there are serious questions about confidence in the appointment of the Solicitor General. And it seems to me that Albertans have expressed a great deal of concern about this appointment, and that it's time that they had some answers. And the way to achieve those answers is through a discussion of the issue in this House. There are very serious allegations with respect to refusals to obey court orders, with respect to allegations of vandalism and destruction of private property, with respect to escapades involving drinking and firearms. And it seems to me the issue here is that our Solicitor General has to display, and must be beyond reproach, and must display respect for the law, and respect for the presumption of innocence, and respect for due process. And it seems to me that the past, the conduct thus far, does not give Albertans much cause for hope for the future. And it's not a question of the past history, it's a question of the future of the Solicitor General.
Honourable member, for point of clarification, perhaps did your words overtake yourself? Did the Chair understand that you mentioned something about an allegation with respect to firearms? Is that accurate in terms of you wanting that to be part of your statement?
I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker. I'm not sure that I understand the question.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Chair thought he heard a comment about firearms, and I understand that that's a new aspect. Is that something that you intended to have in your remarks or not? That's all. That's just clarification.
Mr. Speaker, it is my understanding that there have been those allegations. If I'm incorrect, then I don't want...
Honourable Member, that's all I need. It was a yes or no. Government House Leader.
On the matter of urgency, Today we enter into a debate on the speech from the throne, an all-encompassing debate covering a wide range of subjects in which all members of this assembly are entitled to participate to the fullest. And there's full opportunity for this matter or any other matter that any member wishes to raise in the normal debate on the speech from the throne. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, with respect to the appropriateness of the suggested debate, I would suggest, Mr. Speaker, and submit to you that a debate with respect to allegations of questionable public behavior is not an appropriate type of debate, strictly on the basis of allegations. And indeed, we just witnessed a full example of that through the uncertainty of the member from Edmonton Strathcona. Thirdly, Mr. Speaker, I would suggest that cabinet appointments are not a matter for this assembly, they are a matter for the Premier. And fourthly, Mr. Speaker, we have heard a statement, a very courageous statement from the Solicitor General today, which he dealt with a number of these matters. They have likewise been attended to in the question period and full opportunity, and indeed in speaking to the matter of urgency, members opposite have taken the liberty to exceed that and to talk about the entire matter. So I would suggest, Mr. Speaker, that this is not an appropriate debate under Standing Order 30.
Well, first off, the honourable member for Edmonton Gold Bar has indeed given appropriate notice to the chair and to the House, fulfilling the requirements of Standing Order 30. The issue, of course, has been pointed out, was the subject of ministerial statement earlier today by the minister. Also, opportunity was there for the Leader of the Opposition to make an official response. And then, of course, as all members are aware, that during question period that the matter was raised by at least 2 members, but we know there was more than 2. So that in that regard, there have been enough opportunities in this day for this matter to be aired. And considerable latitude was given by the chair to some of the comments that were made in the course of the day thus far. The need to discuss the matter today on an urgent basis seems almost impossible to justify, given that the House's competence in areas of a minister's private life is extremely limited, almost non-existent. And that's an appropriate manner because it applies to all members of this House. Standing Order 30, subsection 7, subsection F, prohibits a matter being dealt with under Standing Order 30 where an issue is raised that can only be dealt with through a substantive motion of the House. The member for Edmonton Gold Bar has raised an issue of confidence in the minister. The proper way to deal with the matter is through a The proper way to deal with the matter is through a substantive motion brought before the House for determination, not to debate the matter under Standing Order 30, where no question is even put before the House. Accordingly, with this problem in mind and the other comments, I would say that leave is not in order for this matter to proceed under Standing Order 30. Chair recognizes Edmonton Avamore, Standing Order 40.
Mr. Speaker, I would speak to the urgency of the motion that I have put before the House under Standing Order 30. The motion reading, be it resolved that the Legislative Assembly commemorate March 21st as United Nations International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, and that each member of the Assembly today renews her or his commitment to work to eradicate racism and promote equality in all areas of endeavor in his or her public life. Mr. Speaker, I speak to urgency only inasmuch as tomorrow is a day recognized by the United Nations when we should make public our commitment to end racial discrimination and all the evils that flow from that prejudice and discrimination. In addition, we have recently had 2 reports that would indicate to us that the issue of racism needs to be and must continually be addressed here in the province of Alberta.
So I would argue that this is an urgent matter and that today is the appropriate day to deal with it.
Point of order.
Heard the honourable member from Avonmore refer to Standing Order 30. Was it really Standing Order 40?
40. Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Government House Leader. Under Standing Order 40, that is the request the matter proceed. Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Motion carries. Edmonton Avonmore speaking to the motion.
Speaker, the United Nations International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination has its origins in the 1966 Sharpeville massacre of peaceful demonstrators. We applaud today the recent vote in South Africa and wish the people of that nation well in their struggle to end racial discrimination, and we stand in solidarity with them. I think it would also be remiss today on this occasion if we fail to note the tireless work done by our colleague Sheldon Schumer on this very issue. It is on occasions like this that his loss is deeply noted with sadness. Mr. Speaker, much of the strife, the pain and suffering of humanity throughout the ages has had its origins in racism, prejudice, and intolerance. Canada, and indeed Alberta, has not been immune to the violence inherent in attitudes and acts of racism. The recent Board of Inquiry of the Alberta Human Rights Commission into the Aryan Nations rally at Provost has articulated very clearly the nature of and the harm, including the fear generated by overt acts of racism. In the Causey report also dealt with the very serious concerns expressed by Aboriginal people that there may be racial overtones in the administration of justice. But, Mr. Speaker, overt actions are not the only concerns we have. We have to be concerned about covert action, attitudes, and acts of omission. I would hold as one example only a failure to adequately fund English as a second language program. It means that the needs of people of origins from countries other than Canada needs are not recognized, and that these people then are marginalized and denied the opportunity for full participation in Canadian society. Mr. Speaker, there have been numerous complaints to the Human Rights Commission about discrimination on the basis of race. The Human Rights Commission, as it is presently mandated, can only respond. It is only reactive. I believe that the complaints, because of this, are but a tip of the iceberg, because many people from nations outside of Canada have suffered great harm at the hands of those in authority and are fearful of coming forward. Max Sheldon, the head of the Canadian Human Rights Commission, has said that hard times and economic difficulties are times that we must be especially vigilant to the destructive nature and power of racism. Mr. Speaker, I would suggest that we need to be proactive in our policies, our laws, and our political will to send a strong message that racism will not be tolerated, that we will create a society in which all people, regardless of race, religion, place of origin, gender, on a whole number of ways, are held to be equal. I urge endorsement of this motion. Thank you.
Honourable Minister of Culture and Multiculturalism.
I appreciate this motion from the member for Edmonton Avonmore, as it draws again our attention to not an Edmonton problem, not an Alberta problem, not a Canadian problem, but in fact a human problem, a human characteristic, I guess you could best describe it, and that is mistrust and uneasiness with people who are different from ourselves. I referred to earlier in this gathering of the Assembly to the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination in a ministerial statement, and reaffirmed the government's commitment to continue to work. Mr. Speaker, there are two areas, I guess, that we could focus our attention on. One is the education area, and that is the area, generally speaking, that the Alberta Multiculturalism Commission devotes its major attention to, drawing people together and giving them each a sense of understanding about each other and how our diverse population can, in fact, be a great benefit to us as a society as we reach out across the world in trade and tourism and in other factors, and also in just sheer productivity. Mr. Speaker, we've also got an enforcement agency, the Human Rights Commission, which has been referred to here, that deals with those people who do not accept in a lawful manner the differences that are among us. But, Mr. Speaker, there is much work to do. That is why we have a Multiculturalism Commission appointed by the Premier, and that is why we have an ongoing series of programs aimed at helping people work together. But as we look at this motion, Mr. Speaker, and we see that we're urging members of the Assembly to renew their commitments to work together, I think those are commitments that each of us will make personally and individually as not only members of this Assembly, but also as citizens, with the recognition that if we do not work together, and if we do not view ourselves as people, as I said earlier today, all in the same boat, then we're going to fail as a society. It's a simple matter of survival. A society that fights with itself, which ignores the potential of each of its individual members, is a society that is doomed to failure. And I know, without fear of contradiction, that there is nobody in this Assembly who has that view of the future. So, Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the government, we endorse this motion and endorse the efforts to eradicate racism and promote a sense of acceptance, fair play that I know all Albertans share.
Thank you. Councillor McKnight.
Mr. Speaker, I also am very pleased to rise and support this motion on behalf of the Liberal caucus. Asking each member in this legislature to recommit themselves to equality for all, regardless of race, I think is extremely important. We must also commit ourselves to sometimes changing stereotypical thinking, to changing attitudes, to being more sensitive to cultural differences which exist among Albertans. The Minister of Culture and Multiculturalism is correct when he focuses on two areas, the area of education and the Human Rights Commission area. I think that in the area of education, much more has to be done in order to provide intercultural experiences for students. I personally wish that we would use the term intercultural more often than we use the term multicultural, because what we need to do is experience each other's culture in order to understand it, to appreciate it, and to value it. I also would hope that in the schools, this matter of ESL would be attended to. It is a very serious matter, and I know what happened in Calgary recently with proposals to